Hey everyone, meteorologist Mike Prianti. We're back with another weather update. I'm joined with Mike Mahalik. Brad is on break here. So, Mike, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good, Mike. Getting ready for the holiday. I know there won't be the same big parties
No.
this year with the whole pandemic, but it's still a holiday coming up here, and we still want to give a little bit of a forecast and some details for the day.
Right, and we want to talk about New Year's Eve and, of course, the New Year's Day forecast, and even going past that into the weekend. Want to see what
hmm
weather threats are coming down the line. So we'll just
hmm
dive right in. Might as well. We'll stop chatting here. About.
Sure.
So let's take a look here at the GFS first and foremost. The first model for tonight into tomorrow. Basically, we have a frontal boundary coming through. Some moisture with it. Not a lot of rain, just a little bit enough to bring maybe some showers and drizzle. But one thing to
hmm
note here, I think you mentioned this earlier, Mike, about the potentially some cold air as this comes through, some high elevations in the Hudson Valley, Poconos, maybe Northwest Connecticut, Massachusetts
hmm
can even see some snow or even just some freezing rain. You
hmm
want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it won't be a whole lot of freezing rain, I think, because with this kind of setup, there's going to be a south wind out ahead of that frontal boundary, or a southwest wind, I should say. So I think a lot of places are going to stay a little bit on the warm side, especially where the big cities are for sure. But getting away of those big cities into the northwest areas, the Poconos, the Catskills, parts of the Berkshires into northwest Connecticut there, could have a little bit of freezing rain on the front side of this storm. So there could be some icy patches that do develop, and then it changes to rain as we head towards the morning hours. But it does look like it could end with a little bit of wet snow as that front leaves also, and cold air rushes in on the backside. So not a whole lot, not a big wintry event here by any means, but certainly a nuisance problem for those places to the north and west.
Right, exactly. And this does clear out in time, I think, for most New Year's, well, what would have been New Year's Eve festivities in Times Square. But it should
Yeah.
be a nice evening for the ball drop if you're watching on TV.
hmm
Clear, skies will be clearing out by midnight, and the high pressure does sneak in for a little bit. The front does come back south, and then we talk about New
hmm
Year's Day, which it's going to start off fine. I think it's going to be a decent dry start to 2021. But then we have a low pressure system that's starting to develop here, and
hmm
we're going to start seeing showers move in. But notice that discoloration in the map. We're talking, yes, some cold air and a little wintry bag here for a good
hmm
portion of the interior.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, with that high pressure, while that does keep New Year's Eve dry and nice, it's also providing some fresh, cold air. It
Hmm.
won't be extremely cold, but that high is in place right ahead of that storm system. And what happens is we get a lot of cold air damming, is what it's called, that sets up on the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains. So a lot of those valleys get stuck around 32 degrees or a little bit below. So then when that precipitation moves in, we're going to have some freezing rain issues,
Yeah.
especially across south central Pennsylvania, possibly even northwest Maryland. They'll be very close
Hmm.
Friday afternoon. And then into the evening, into the Poconos, Lehigh Valley, into northwest portions of New Jersey there. And then heading into the nighttime hours, that's when it starts getting into portions of northern Connecticut, and probably towards midnight and after once you get up into Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So this is going to be a little bit more of an issue than the Wednesday night, Thursday morning system that comes through, because a little bit more moisture to work with. And there could even be a thump of snow
Hmm.
through Massachusetts here, because it will be cold enough there. Maybe even 2 or 3 inches of snow getting up into portions of southern New Hampshire, maybe even back towards upstate New York there, north of Albany. So certainly an interesting system. One thing to note, it does try to warm up too as this system slides off. But you see there in the frame that Mike has showing, a little low will form on the southeastern portion of New England there. And what that will do is that will keep those winds out of the north across the interior portions of New England. And with snow happening to the northern, in the north, up in New Hampshire and up in Maine,
Hmm.
that's going to funnel in
Yeah.
some colder air. So even though the models do go over to rain, I feel like there's going to be freezing drizzle and freezing rain showers dipping all the way through the southern Merrimack Valley,
Yeah,
maybe
Mike.
into portions of central Massachusetts too.
I've covered New England so many times the past 2 years. I've seen this happen so many times. When the wind starts turning out of the northwest, you
Hmm.
have a colder air source in place. It shows rain, but if you're 32, it's definitely not rain. So
Yeah.
something to keep an eye on as this does pivot out Saturday afternoon, evening. But then the
Hmm.
weekend, later the weekend, not bad until we get to next week, and then we do it all over again. This seems to be the case here. At least we're getting a stormy pattern here, unlike last winter
Yeah.
where we were kind of warmish. But this could be some
Yeah.
some cold air with this too. We'll have to see where this tracks. The Euro is a little bit farther northwest. I
Hmm.
think the GFS is a little bit off to the off in the Atlantic, but this has
Hmm.
moved north and west since its past runs. So it does show some snow here for like New York City 95 interior,
Hmm.
but I think this will start moving north and west as we go through the next couple of days, and might be some good interior snow again, even into New England. We'll see how this tracks, but definitely a lot of stuff to watch, Mike, going into the weekend.
Yeah, I mean the weekend storm is going to be an interesting one. I mean this wasn't really shown on the models even a day ago. There was only maybe one or two that were
Mhm.
having that storm develop. But you know, cold air is going to be marginal. There won't be a lot of cold air to work with. So it's really going to come down to how strong that storm gets,
Mhm.
where exactly it tracks. Obviously, the closer to the coast, we're going to have more issues with rain in the I-95 corridor. But if it's a little further off and we get a stronger storm, that could certainly bring in some wintry precipitation and possibly some snow. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that one. But I think we really need to get through these wintry mix events over the next couple of days before we think about that.
Right, and when you mentioned the temperatures, one thing I forgot to show everyone here is the temperatures, and we showed the cold air damming setup. But then once
Hmm.
we get this storm to move on out by Saturday, take a look at those temperatures for Saturday
Hmm.
afternoon in central South Jersey, 50s, possibly even some 60s going into far southern New Jersey, still in the 40s up into areas that saw more of the cold air damming hold on longer. But still, I
Hmm.
mean, we're going from temperatures in the 20s to temperatures in the 50s again, and then you go into the weekend, as you said, not a lot of cold air for Sunday. It's just kind of some marginal cold air interior, but in the 40s and 30s. So, it's not a strong storm right now. Obviously, it's not enough to make its own cold air, but we'll have to keep an eye out going forward and see how this thing will track first and foremost. So.
Absolutely. And I think that about does it for this update.
I think that does, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. As always, you can follow us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're here on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a subscription so you can find out when we set another video, possibly next week or whenever we have time here at the office. And as always, you can check us out what we do professionally at weatherworksinc.com. Everyone have a safe and happy holiday, and we'll see you here in 2021.